Thank you, Guharsh. A little short. You gotta move that, move that over to closer to me. Big crowd in the morning. Turn the house into a temple. Right? Yeah. Oh, that's me. How auspicious.
You know, play guitar or
Guitar. I'm gonna guitar. Let me just get this set up. Uh-huh. Make sure it's in tune. Yep, you can see everything. Okay. It's a little bit different melody. So listen first before you respond too quickly. All right. Jaya Kunja Bihari Madha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidakacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Huilas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindhavanam Ki Jai, Maturadam Ki Jai, Jagadasami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Tulasi Devi. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nidasesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarne. Okay. Trying to find a place where we like. Okay, I guess this is a good place. So, go back a little bit here. So this is a discussion. So, Omagana Tivadandasha Gadanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Urmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigurvena Maha. So we're in the middle of a discussion between Advaita, who is a new devotee, just got initiated, in fact, and his old friend Digambara. And Digambara is what we call a Shakta. Everybody knows what a Shakta is? It means one who worships the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We believe that Krishna is Shakti Mam. Krishna is the possessor. He's the one who possesses the Shaktis, and Shaktis are like, well, actually it's different Shaktis, but there's basically the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the external potency of the Lord. Internal potency is called the Yoga Maya, external potency is called Maha Maya. And so Advaita is having a whole discussion with his good friend Digambara, who came to take him away from Krishna consciousness, came to deprogram him. And Digambara is a worshiper of Durga. And not only worshiper of Durga, he's worshiping through what we call left-handed tantra. What is that? Left-handed tantra is like, voodoo and things like that. And so he's trying to bring his friend back to what he considers to be the best thing, which is left-handed tantra. So this is a whole discussion. And one interesting thing that occurs in this discussion is the point that we're going to hear about right now, which is who Digambara actually thinks he is. So let's continue with this. Let me do the sharing of the screen so everybody else can see. So we'll share the screen. You can see all right there? Wait, I haven't shared it yet.
Yeah.
You can see now?
Yeah.
Okay. You can also see the chat window. See everybody watching me. Okay. So Advaita, who's a devotee, he's a great devotee. He's actually been chanting for quite a long time, and eventually he takes initiation. His name before was Lahiri, and now he's taken initiation. And Advaita has this discussion. Okay, Advaita Das says, and who are you? Digyambara says, bound by the ropes, one is Jiva, and freed from the ropes, one is Sadashiva. So in other words, when you're in the material world, conditioned soul, you're a Jiva soul, an individual soul. And then when you become liberated, you become Sadashiva. You become one with God, anyway. Advaita Das, so he's trying to set up his friend for like a smash, a philosophical smash. Are you Purusha or Prakriti? Digyambara said, I am Purusha. The mother is Prakriti. When I am bound, she's the mother. When I'm liberated, she's my wife. Hare Krishna. That's really cool. You get arrested for stuff like that here in New Zealand, right? I've understood your philosophy. Advaita said, there's no longer any doubt. Where did you receive the philosophy? All this philosophy. Digyambara said, brother, you simply wandering about saying Vaishnava, Vaishnava. I'm not like that. Associating with many sannyasis, brahmacharis, tantrikas, and siddhas. Tantrika means people who follow left-handed tantra. Left-handed tantra means you have obscene mudras, you eat meat, you take flesh, you take fish, you have illicit sex life, all sorts of horrible things. Studying Tantra scriptures day and night. I have attained this knowledge. If you want, I can train you up. Advaita Das, he's just like, oh my God, this guy is a creep. He's thinking how he can get rid of him. Advaita Das says, thinking what a misfortune this was, let me understand one thing. What is civilization? What is material science? Digyambara said, in cultured society, one speaks nicely. One wears fine clothing to please others. One eats so that others are not repulsed. You do not have these three elements. So he's very much into mundane society. So he says, you as a Vaishnava do not have the good qualities that you should have. You're not cultured, in other words. So this is, what's daytime for the self-realized soul is nighttime for the materialistic person, and vice versa, as Bhagavad Gita says. We think so-called cultured society, like in cultured society, for example, the way I was brought up, you're supposed to use your, when you sit at a dinner table, you have one fork for this, another fork for that, right? A knife for cutting bread, a knife for cutting flesh. That's cultured. So one wears fine clothing to please others. One eats so that others are not repulsed. You do not have these three elements. In other words, you're uncultured. Advaita Das said, why is that? Digyambara said, you do not mix with others. You have antisocial behavior. The Vaishnavas have not learned to speak sweetly to attract others. Phew. On seeing another person, they say, chant the holy name. Why is there no civilized conversation? This is the way people see us in many cases. We have to see that from their perspective. Seeing your clothing, no one will sit near you in a gathering. You wear rags, beads around your neck, and a bald head. What dress? Your meal is leaves and roots. You are not civilized at all. Advaita Das thinking that it might be better to start a quarrel and have Digyambara leave in anger. You just want to get him angry so get the creep out of here. Said, by civilization, is there a good arrangement for the next life? Digyambara said, it is not arranged for a good destination in the next life, but if one is not civilized, how will society advance? If there's advancement in society, there will be actions for the next life. It was like a mundane karma mimamsa philosophy. Advaita Das said, brother, do not be angry, I will say something. Digyambara said, you're my childhood friend. Sometimes we experience it that friends will come from the past and try to convince us you've done the wrong thing. Like I mentioned in a previous class, not here, that sometimes there's these different pages on the internet where you can actually see your old friends from high school and university. You've seen that before? You can even look at your yearbook. I looked at my yearbook and saw all my pictures when I was at Big Demon. So, the friends will come to you and say, why did you spoil your life? Even my mother, she would say, even when I was like 65 years old, you could still go back to the university, become a doctor or something. Digyambara said, you're my childhood friend. I can give my life for you. Why would I not tolerate your talk? I love civility. Though angry, I speak sweetly. To the extent that one hides one's inner emotions, culture prospers. So here Advaita Das begins to preach to him. Advaita Das said, human life is short and filled with disturbances. In this short life, it is necessary to worship the Lord with sincerity. Instructions on civility, politeness, are merely cheating the Atma. It's not that we should be uncivil or not polite, but we just don't, you don't have to get into all these details. The main thing is to serve Krishna. I know that cheating is another name of civility. In other words, one puts on a good face, but he actually means something else. When human life stays on the path of truth, it remains honest. When one accepts deceptive behavior, then internally there is deception and absorption in wicked acts, while externally one desires to be cultured by pleasing others with sweet words. What you call civility has no good quality. Truthful behavior and honesty are good qualities. Very good instruction. The meaning of civility, sabhyata, is suitability to sit in an assembly sabha. That is genuine honesty. You speak of deception as civility. Actual civility without sin is found among the Vaishnavas. When civility is full of sin, it is respected among the non-Vaishnavas. The civility that you speak of has no relationship with the eternal dharma of the jiva. If one wears clothing to attract people, then the prostitutes are more cultured than you. One should accept cloth which covers the body as clean, without bad odor, etc. Food which is pure and nourishing is without fault. You care only if the food tastes good, without considering if it is pure or impure. Meat and alcohol are by nature impure. If one eats them in the name of civility, one commits only sin. The present civility is Kali Yuga civility. He really smashes his friend. And then Digyambara says, have you forgotten the culture of the Muslim kings? In their gatherings, they sit elegantly and speak in an orderly manner. Advaita Das says, that is merely worldly dealing. If that did not exist, would mankind suffer any lack? You were employed for a long time by the Muslims, and thus you were inclined to such civility. Actually, the real life of the human being is to lead a sinless life. The prosperity of Kali Yuga society, with increase of sin, is only a mockery of truth, of the truth. Digyambara said, educated people today think that being civilized is being human. The person who is not civilized is not human. Women wear attractive clothing to cover their faults. From this arises present-day improvement. Sorry, ladies. But he's not a devotee, so don't get angry. Advaita Das said, consider if this conclusion is good or bad. I see that those whom you say are educated are contemporary rascals. They favor a deceitful society in order to fulfill past life impressions or to cover their faults. Can an intelligent person find happiness in their society? Pride in the society of rascals can be maintained only by useless argument and physical strength. They're really going after each other here. The Digambar said, some say that the knowledge is gradually advancing in this world. Along with knowledge, there's the advancement of civilization. With advancement of civilization, heaven will manifest on earth. This is what they're thinking. You can replace different body parts. You could live for a long time. And then, of course, with the latest thing, you have this chat GPT. Some of you may have heard about that, no? That's called artificial intelligence. And many devotees have gotten into it. One devotee just wanted to see. And they said, can you please initiate me? It's artificial intelligence on the internet. No one's heard of this before? You're all in the Stone Ages. It's only one intelligent person in the whole room. Anyone else heard of it? Raise your hand. No? Oh my God. I'm in the wrong place, actually. So, artificial intelligence, it means when a computer emulates a human being. So I tried it, and I said to this particular artificial intelligent bot, I said, do you like me? I needed some friends. I said, it said back to me as I'm learning to. So, people think this is advancement because they have no human interactions. So basically nowadays they not only have this artificial intelligence, but they have these robots, especially in Japan. You have a robot dog, you have a robot wife, you have a lady at home as a robot. And it's just, anyway, it's just so-called advancement of civilization, and people are more psychologically disturbed than they've ever been before. The Digambar said, some say that the knowledge is gradually advancing in this world, along with knowledge. I said that right. Dvaita Das said, this is rubbish talk. Those who believe this talk are happy in their belief. Have we actually seen people become happy because of the advancement in modern science? And we know. They become more atheistic, actually. Actually, in most places, it's illegal to teach about God creating things as opposed to evolution. Can you teach the opposite, like what's called intelligent design at the universities here? I don't think so. No. Intelligent design means Krishna designed everything. Those who do not, and actually that's obvious if you examine the complexity of matter, especially biological matter, you'll see that it's infinitely complex and it could not have come about by chance. But if you say this in the university, you'll fail your course. So even the children, the poor children who are going to school nowadays, they have to answer in a politically correct way, even though they don't believe in it, or else they fail the course. Are we still on the internet? Yeah, we're still on the internet. Those who do not believe and still preach it are even happier because of their audacity. In other words, they're just prideful. There are two types of knowledge, spiritual and material. It does not appear that spiritual knowledge is now increasing. In many respects, spiritual knowledge has been deprived of its natural form. Material knowledge has possibly increased. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says elsewhere, when one becomes educated in material knowledge, too much material knowledge, one becomes as foolish as an ass. Does material knowledge have an eternal relationship with the jiva? When material knowledge increases, people become attracted to so many things and do not respect spiritual truth. The more material knowledge increases, the more deceitful civilization becomes. This is an unfortunate destination of the jiva. The Digambar said, why is this unfortunate? Advaita Das says, I previously said that human life is short. In this short time, a person like a traveler in an inn should use his life for spiritual purposes. It is foolish to waste time showing the progress of life at the end. The example Prabhupada gave is if you have an apartment that you're renting and the lease is running out, you should make some plans instead of decorating your apartment. Another example Prabhupada gave is the bird in the cage. You should take care of the bird rather than the cage. The more one pursues material knowledge, the less time one has for spiritual pursuits. I've concluded that one should involve in material knowledge as much as it helps the maintain the body. It is not necessary to exclusively worship material knowledge and its accompanying civilization. How long will material glitter last? And of course, what does the Upanishad say? Does anyone know that verse? It says, vidya avidya. One needs to cultivate both things in order to progress in Krishna consciousness, because we're supposed to utilize the principle of yukta vairagya, using things in Krishna service, which means we need to have a certain amount of material knowledge in order to serve Krishna in this world, to preach. Digyambar said, I have fallen into the grips of a convinced renunciate. Does society serve no purpose? He's getting angrier. Advaita Das says, a society functions according to its nature. Vaishnav society functions nicely. Non-Vaishnav society is a material society. Whatever function it fulfills is not the best for the jiva. Let that be. What is material science? Digyambar said, material science is revealed in many ways in tantric scriptures. All the knowledge, skill, and beauty in the material world is material science. Military arts, medicine, music, astrology are all material sciences. Prakriti, the Aja Shakti, that's Durga again, has created the world and made great variety in the world by her Shakti. Each part of the Shakti produces a particular science. Attaining this science, one can be liberated from the ropes of Mother Nishtarini. That's Durga again. The Vaishnavas do not seek this knowledge. We attain liberation by this science. Searching for this science, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, famous Hakim, and other Muslim wise men wrote many books. Actually, Socrates, Prabhupada said, was Brahman realized. Why did Prabhupada say that? Because there's a dialogue in which Socrates is depicted by Plato, who's his disciple. This is called Phaedo was the name of the dialogue, in which Socrates has been condemned to death. Anyone heard about this before? No. Okay, it's a little Western philosophy for you. So Prabhupada talked about this in this dialogue that Prabhupada had with his disciples about the different Western philosophers. Anyway, I think the dialogue was called Spiritual Dialecticism. So anyway, so there was a discussion. So Socrates was condemned to death. He was given the choice of either leaving the city of Athens or dying, because he was always asking the questions, what is life all about? And was agitating all the professional lawyers, which were called sophists in that particular society. So they said you could die by taking the hemlock. Hemlock is poison. Or you can live by leaving this place. He said, I'm going to stay. And so they gave him the hemlock. And he said to them, you cannot catch me. You could just catch my body, but you can't catch me. So Prabhupada, when he heard that, he said that he was Brahman realized. So Advaita Das said, you said that Vaishnavas do not seek science, vijnana. That is not true. The Vaishnavas have pure jnana and vijnana. Bhagavatam says, Jnanam paramanguyam miyad vijnana samanvatam sahasram tarangam atad angam chagrana gaditam maya. Please understand, the most secret form of my form, secret knowledge, my form, along with the realization of that form, and also understand about prema bhakti and sadhana bhakti, which will be spoken by me. Before the creation, when the Lord was pleased with Brahma's worship, he instructed Brahma about pure Vaishnava Dharma. Oh, Brahma. So he's just making the point that Vijnana, which is, Prabhupada translates that sometimes as science, it also means realization. Please accept this secret knowledge along with Vijnana, which I speak, along with their angas or branches. Digambra, there are two types of knowledge, pure knowledge and material knowledge. Human beings accept material knowledge by their senses. It is impure, useless for understanding spiritual matters. So we understand that's what we call epistemology, because the senses are imperfect according to the Vedic literatures. These are one of the 4 defects of the condition. So who knows the other defects? No one knows. Cheating propensity, illusion.
Cheating tendency.
We said cheating tendency.
Committing mistakes.
Committing mistakes. Okay. So because of that, any philosophy we come up with, due to our own speculation, is going to be faulty. And so we follow the process, the descending process, rather than the ascending process. It is necessary for maintaining the body when the jiva is in a state of bondage. Pure knowledge is knowledge which takes shelter of the spiritual. This knowledge is the basis of the devotee's worship and is eternal. This knowledge is the opposite of material knowledge and very different. You accept material knowledge as Vijnana. Actually, material knowledge is not Vijnana. You call Ayurveda and other material knowledge Vijnana, but they are different from pure knowledge. In other words, some of the branches of the Vedic literatures don't deal with spiritual knowledge, they deal with material knowledge. Ayurveda, and we use Ayurveda. It's not to decry Ayurveda. We use so many things. We read the knowledge of how to drive a car and things like that, which is all material knowledge. But the only value these things have is when we use this knowledge, that knowledge, in Krishna's service. Pure knowledge, different from material knowledge, is called Vijnana. Actual Jnana and Vijnana are one. Jnana means perception of a spiritual object. He's talking about spiritual knowledge. Establishing pure knowledge while rejecting material knowledge is called Vijnana. Though the object is one, different names are given for different application. Jnana and Vijnana. You call material knowledge Vijnana, means science or realization. The Vaishnavas say that establishing material knowledge in its proper place is Vijnana. In other words, understanding where it belongs. Not to reject it, but to understand the priorities, the hierarchy of where material knowledge belongs, where spiritual knowledge belongs. They consider, this is the Vaishnavas, they consider military arts, Ayurveda, astrology, chemistry, etc., to be material knowledge. That's why Prabhupada did not take astrology so seriously. Prabhupada actually said at the end, let's hear what the astrologers have to say. Let's have a joke, basically. The jiva does not have an eternal relationship with them. They are worthless in relation to the eternal dharma of the jiva. As Prabhupada said about astrology and palmistry, if you clap your hands, we mentioned this many times before, all the lines change. Clap and dance before the deities, not just clap at some mundane concert. And, Prabhupada said, I created your good fortune, your sukriti. Previously you had no sukriti. The Vaishnavas understand that those who absorb in the progress of material knowledge because of the material tendency are involved in karma kanda. They do not criticize them because by their efforts in material progress, they to some degree assist the Vaishnava's spiritual progress. What does that mean? That means the materialists, they come up with all these different scientific advancement, and then we use it. Like Prabhupada said about some animal that makes a home and another animal lives in it, and I forget which animal it was. It's like that. Certain types of snails are like that too. They make their shell, and then some other animal lives in the shell. So Prabhupada said that the materialist makes so much effort to come up with this scientific advancement, and then we just use it, and we don't have to worry about making it. Like I'm using the computer. I didn't come up with it. I didn't design it. I let some rascal do that. Isn't it? I mean, why do I have to do it? So you call this insignificant material knowledge, material science, or vijnana. What is the objection to it? It is foolish to argue over names. And a Jigyambar said, well, if material knowledge did not advance, how could you live comfortably and do your bhajan? People say that to devotees. If it didn't advance, how could you be driving all over the place and visiting people in their homes? You don't criticize us. How could you use your computer? How could you do all? You should make efforts for material advancement. And actually, we don't need these things. But because you all are so attached to these things, you're not living in a village anymore. And you like to drive around. Prabhupada said, so we have the advancement, so the cars are there so one could drive to work in the morning. And you drive to work in the morning to pay for the car, so it's like circular, isn't it?
Yeah.
We need the car to drive to work. We need to work to pay for the car. Remember that great sage who would live as long as he had hairs on his body. Each hair represented a lifetime of Lord Brahma. He didn't take any advantage of that to build a house. He says his lifetime is very short. I'm not saying that that's what we should do. We're living in a different society, and we're preaching. Dvaita Das said, different people act according to different inclinations, but does not the Supreme Controller give to people suitable results for their efforts? In other words, there must be karma. Digyambara said, how does the inclination arise? So in other words, how does one's motivation come about? So Digyambara is the atheist, remember that. He said, how does one become inclined or take as objectives in one's life? How does one obtain those particular things? Advaita Das says inclination, motivation, arises from impressions. This is a devotee Advaita, just to reiterate. From impressions generated by previous karma. It's called samskaras. You've all heard that name before? Samskara doesn't necessarily, it may indicate some particular ceremony. Like you have Antyeshti samskara, you have Garbhadan samskara. But the point is, they're called samskaras because they create impressions. The whole point of having, let's say, the Garbhadan samskara is to create an impression in the mind so the proper child is attracted to being born in the family. It's not just the ceremony itself is not the point. But you all think that the ceremony is the point. But the ceremony is meant to create impression. And if you just do the ceremony and you don't create the proper impression, it's useless. You understand? Yeah. It's not you just follow all these rituals. That's niyamagraha. So the whole point is to savai mana Krishna padara vindyo, to actually create the impression and fix your mind on Krishna. The deeper one's relationship with matter, one becomes skillful at material knowledge and crafts arising from material knowledge. What they produce is useful for the Vaishnavas. This is what Prabhupada said, which I just talked about before. Vaishnavas do not need to endeavor for these things. A carpenter makes an altar to earn his living. A household devotee can establish a deity on that altar. In other words, we use what they produce. Prabhupada would say sometimes he's walking in a nice park in the morning. And he said the karmis, they work very hard to produce this park and we're enjoying it. And they're going to work. Because the park was empty. He probably would take his morning walks like that. According to their inclination, bees collect honey. Devotees take the... This is funny. Devotees take the honey for the Lord's service. Sometimes people... Well, this is the early days that we were all brahmacharis or something like that. And people would say to us, why don't you get a job? You're just living like... you're leeching off of society. And I would explain to people, this is my job. And then Prabhupada would say, when he was criticized like that, your devotees are not contributing to society. Why don't you work? And Prabhupada said, you can join us. Come on, we're inviting everybody. You can move in the temple and, just chant Hare Krishna, live nicely, eat opulent prasadam. And basically, no one came. Not everyone endeavors for spiritual goals in this world. In other words, we understand there can be some materialists, so they serve the Vaishnavas. People act according to their inclinations. Humans have a variety of inclinations, higher and lower. Low people do many activities by their lower inclination. All these actions help work done with higher inclination. In other words, we have spiritual inclination, so what all the materialists do, like Elon Musk and everything like that, they work for us. Don't tell him that. Isn't it? Because we're using the products that they produce. The wheel of this world rotates by these divisions. There are many people with a variety of material inclinations, and they worship according to their material inclination. These actions assist the spiritual inclination of the Vaishnavas. In other words, we need them. It's good to have a lot of materialists around. Because, they help us. If they weren't around, we wouldn't be able to go to the supermarket. They do not know that by their actions they are helping the Vaishnavas. It's called the Gyata Sukriti. But deluded by Vishnu's Maya, they do their activities. The whole world is the unknowing servant of the Vaishnavas. So these devotees are actually Uttama Adhikaris, basically. The whole world is the unknowing servant of the Vaishnavas. Prabhupada saw it like that. The Gyambara said, what is Vishnu Maya? What is the illusion of Vishnu? So Advaita, who's quite intelligent, says, in the glorification of Chandi, in the Markandeya Purana, it is said, Yogamaya Hare Shaktir Yaya Samohitam Jagat. Yogamaya is the Shakti of the Lord by which the world is bewildered. Of course, we know it's actually Mahamaya, but Yogamaya manifests as Mahamaya. She's an expansion of Yogamaya. Mahamaya is an expansion of Yogamaya. So here's the question. Digyambar said, so who is Mother Nishtarani? That's again Durga. Advaita says, she is Vishnu Maya. She is the energy of Vishnu. Maya in this sense doesn't mean illusion, it means energy. Digyambar opened his book on Tantra and said, here it is said that she is the form of consciousness, has her own desire, is beyond the gunas, and controls the gunas. Your Vishnu Maya is not beyond the gunas. How can your Vishnu Maya and my mother Nishtarini, be the same? I do not like this fanaticism of the Vaishnavas. So he's considering that Nishtarini, who is Durga, is God. But he later on becomes her husband. Anyway, it's all a crazy philosophy. He becomes Sadashiva, who is Durga's husband, I mean, just wild. Advaita Das says, brother, Digyambara, do not become angry. You have come to see me after a long time. I desire to satisfy you. So is Vishnu Maya insignificant? Vishnu is Bhagawan, the supreme controller, the embodiment of consciousness. Everything is his Shakti. Shakti is not the object. Shakti is the quality of the object. In other words, Shakti is not God. It's one of the qualities of God. To claim that Shakti is the cause of everything is most contrary to the truth. Shakti cannot exist separately from the object. Krishna, as I said before, Shakti Mam, which is the origin of Shakti. It's just like saying the sunshine can exist separately from the sun. That's stupid. Because the sun emanates the sunshine, and the sunshine is dependent on the sun. First, one should accept the object, which is the very form of consciousness. In other words, the origin, Shakti Mam. Vedanta says that Shakti is non-different from the Shakti Mam. Shakti is not separate. The Purusha, in other words, one and different simultaneously. Chincha Veda Veda Tawa. The Purusha, that's Krishna, is one entity who is Shakti Man. Remember that term. That's actually an important term. That means the possessor of Shakti. Shakti is his quality or dharma dependent on his desire. In other words, that's Durga. If you accept that the Shakti takes shelter of pure consciousness, and thus the Shakti is non-different from Shaktiman, so we say it is different and non-different simultaneously. It is not wrong to say that it is the form of consciousness that possesses desire and beyond the three gunas. Desire and consciousness take shelter of the Lord. So in other words, because the Shakti is a manifestation of Krishna. Desire does not reside in the Shakti. Rather, by the desire of the Lord, the Shakti operates. In other words, the Shakti does not have independent desire. Durga does not have independent desire. The Shaktis of the Lord are all first-class servants. They don't fall down. They cannot fall down. It's not possible for them to fall down to the material energy. By nature, they cannot fall down. By our nature, Jiva soul, we're also a type of Shakti of the Lord. Vishnu Shakti, Para Prokta Kshetrakya, Tata Para, Avidya Karma Sanganya, Tritiya Shakti Ishate. In the Vishnu Purana, this statement is made. That, talking about Vishnu's Shaktis, he says, Vishnu Shakti, the first Shakti is the Para Prakriti. Right? Vishnu Shakti, Para Prokta. And the second Shakti, Para Prakriti, Kshetragyakya, Tata Para. Who's the Kshetragya?
The Jiva.
The Jiva. Because the Kshetragya means he's the knower of the field of activities. And then Tata, Para, which means he's also transcendental. But, and then the final Shakti mentioned in this verse is Avidya Karma Sangyanya. But the third one is known as Avidya, what's that? Ignorance. Karma, ignorant knowledge. So the third Shakti, the material Shakti of the Lord, is known as ignorant knowledge. Ignorance. Ignorant activity. So sometimes you'll find the Lord's Shaktis described a different number. Here we have the Lord Shaktis is three: the spiritual, the Jiva, and the material, right? But sometimes you only find two. When you talk about the Tattvas, sometimes you only find Vishnu and two Shaktis, the Jiva and Maya. So how to explain the difference? Well, because Yogamaya expands as Mahamaya. So sometimes you can say Krishna's Shakti is one, and sometimes you can take Krishna's Shaktis apart from the Jiva are one, and sometimes you can say they're two. It's just different ways of looking at the same thing. Does everybody understand that point? Okay, let me finish the paragraph and then we'll take questions. Rather, by the desire of the Lord, the Shakti operates. You have the Shakti to move about. By your desire, the Shakti to move operates. If one says that Shakti acts, one should understand that the Shakti Man acts. The expression that the Shakti acts is used metaphorically only because the Shakti is Krishna's direct Shakti, moves by Krishna's desire. This movement, just like the body. Okay, let's say, you can say, metaphorically, my arm moves. I mean, it does move, obviously. But it's actually, I'm moving the arm. Do you understand the difference? The arm is, in one sense, my Shakti. Of course, it's dependent on Krishna. If Krishna wants, he can paralyze me, and I won't be able to move my arm. But really, the arm is moving right now by my desire. So I'm moving the arm. It's not that the arm is moving independently. The arm is not decided to move. And those are the Shaktis of the Lord. There's not independent action. They move by the desire of the Lord. Okay, it's a very important philosophical point there about Shakti and Shaktiman. So then we will stop sharing, because we don't like to share. So anyway, we'll stop sharing, and we'll allow people to ask questions, or you all can get the first dibs on asking questions. Anybody here in our audience want to ask a question first? No one?
Who is the author of this Jaiva?
Jaiva Dharma is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Oh yeah, and beginning when I began to read this, I explained that Prabhupada said that we should read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books, particularly Prabhupada stressed this book, the Jaiva Dharma and the Chaitanya Shikshamrita. He said both books are very important for Vaishnavas to read. Now this book, or if you're not familiar with, because we've been reading this for the last 2 months or something like this, online at the same time every day. So this book contains information about all the aspects of bhakti, beginning with A all the way to Z. And the last portion is actually too intimate to read online. It deals with, Radha and Krishna, conjugal loving affairs and everything like that. But the first portion deals with personalism versus impersonalism, and then the Lord Shaktis, the different varieties of Vaishnavas, and all these interesting things that are applicable to us. But in the context of a story, or different stories, there's different stories in here. And these stories teach us. So it's not just like philosophy thrown at us. But as you see here, it's a dialogue between a devotee, a great devotee, Advaita, and Digyambara, who is a Shakta. So we're learning a little bit. And it teaches us how to preach. It teaches us philosophy in a very easy to digest form. Sometimes you just read philosophy, it's just like, oh my God, I've overdosed on philosophy today. But this is so interesting. Hear the discussion here, and you're thinking, when is he going to smash him? What's going to happen here? So, there's it's like a novel. It is a novel. I mean, these are fictional characters that Bhaktivinoda has come up with in order to teach us the Siddhanta. Siddhanta, Tattva, and Ras. Those three things. Okay. Who else has a question? Yes, all right. Okay.
Thank you so much. Right, thank you for the nice class. This concept of Shakti and Shaktiman, you mentioned the Shakti moves by the desire of the
Shaktiman.
Shaktiman. So you also give analogy that my arm moves because I have a desire.
Yeah, so I'm moving the arm. It's not that the arm is moving.
I move the arm. Is it the soul, the Atma, or because Atma is also part of energy of the Lord.
That's interesting. Well, it's dependent on Krishna, but all of us, from the Uttamadhikari's perspective, and I'm not an Uttamadhikari, but anyway, from the Uttamadhikari's perspective, all of us are serving Krishna. So we desire to move the arm, like I just decided. Let's say theoretically, I'm just a regular materialist, and maybe I am. But anyway, let's say theoretically, I'm a materialist, and I desire to move the arm. But that desire is coming from the three modes, you trace it back, from the three modes of material nature. Nahika shichanamapi jatatishtati karma karyate yavasara karma. Sarva prakriti charguna, as the Bhagavad Gita says, that everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the impulses born of the three modes of material nature. No one can stop action for a moment. So I have a choice. I can serve Krishna being directed by the modes of nature, or I can serve Krishna being directed by love of bhakti, or the Shakti of bhakti. And the Shakti of bhakti is controlled by Krishna. So, indirectly, you can say indirectly, you can say, well, in one sense, I've chosen. I have the one choice. My choice is serve Krishna or Maya. And because I've chosen, but in either case, I'm being impelled by my desires, by my either conditioning or by my love of Krishna.
We have a choice.
You have a choice. That's your choice. Once you choose love of Krishna, it's love that impels you to work. And that love is Krishna's Shakti. Bhakti is Krishna's Shakti. Because Radharani is the Adi Shakti of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So when one desires material inclination,
Yeah.
that is his choice, because then he comes down to 3 gunas.
Yeah, he comes down here and then the modes tell me, today I would like to eat this, tomorrow Lanka. I mean, actually with most of us, because we're not pure devotees, it's sort of a mixed thing. It's mixed from moment to moment. I mean, sometimes we're absorbed in Krishna consciousness by Prabhupada's mercy, and sometimes we're absorbed in material consciousness. So, but Krishna is very kind. But the pure devotee, the Uttamadhikari sees everyone as serving Krishna. Prabhupada said that we're always servants. Remember? Prabhupada said we're always servants. You cannot get out of that particular nature. The nature of the jiva is to serve. So if we're serving our senses, we're serving Maya, we're serving Nishtarini. So you're a perfect Shakta.
Godas.
A Godas is a perfect Shakta in one sense. Not in a Vedic sense, but in an actual ontological sense. So, does that make sense?
Yes, sir. You also mentioned like that the materialists are also indirectly serving the Vaishnavas.
Materialists are serving the Vaishnavas, yeah.
That's an interesting point. Suppose I think Sri Prabhupada asks, are you freeloader? Prabhupada comments in the word freeloader in American, leaving off the society.
Yeah.
So he just says, I'll be leaving off the society, I will be pure devotee.
That's funny. Yeah, so Prabhupada said that, people do so much work, and another example in the Bhagavatam was the same thing about the honeybees. Yeah, actually that's in the story about the Avaduta Brahman. That the Avaduta Brahman was learning from the honeybees and the person who took care of the honeybees, because they were
24 gurus.
Yeah, this is one of the 24 gurus. He also compared that to the brahmacharis and the householders. Because that's varnashram. I mean, the householders are the stomach of society, and the brahmacharis are the arms, the legs, sorry, and the sannyasi is the head. It's good to be the head. You can just rest all day long. So, anyone online have a question? There's another minute. Nobody's raised their hand or typed in the text window. Oh, another question? Oh, yeah.
Maharaj, is it Advaita Das, is it our inclinations come about from our past karma or samskara? Is it something that can be changed?
Yeah.
Or
By chanting Hare Krishna, Cheto Darpanam Arjanam, Bhava Mahadvagni Nirvapanam, Shreyukayarava, Chandrika Avataram, Vijavada Jivanam, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Paripadam, Pranamrita Svatanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Pranam Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, right? By chanting the holy names, all the dust, which is the samskaras, become changed, become eradicated. Actually, it's said by Lord Kapiladev that devotional service dissolves the subtle body. That means dissolves some scars. It doesn't get rid of your mind. Some of the subtle body, you have no mind, no intelligence, no ego. It dissolves the some scars. Cheto darpanam marjanam. You understand? Cleanses the heart of all the dust that's been accumulated. So we have all these past births. So based on our past births, we have all these impressions. And based on these impressions, we have all these desires. But we can get rid of it. Gradually, use the clearing process. We're gradually getting rid of them. Not the first time you go, Hare Krishna, all my samskaras are gone. You still have some inclinations from before. Okay. Any other questions before? Yes.
The line reference of chanting Hare Krishna.
Instruct the glories of the Lord to the faith.
Yeah, finally. So how do we understand this whole conversation? Is it because the Advaita Das is an Uttamadhikari, only then he can preach to a faithless person?
Well, he's basically trying to get rid of him.
Okay.
You know, because I wouldn't preach him, but sometimes Dwaita Das is trying to push the buttons on Digyambara, so he just like, and you'll see that's what happens. Divyambara eventually says, I can't deal with this guy anymore. He goes away. So that's really what he's doing. And I mean, I don't think we should deal with it that way. We should just say, I don't want to discuss these matters. But Advaita Das is a very advanced devotee, and basically he's a Madhyamadikari. We don't want to drive people away just by attacking their philosophy. Prabhupada gave us the instruction that, Krishna says that one should not disturb the minds of those who are materially attached, but get them, encourage them to work in the spirit of devotion. Whatever. But this is for our edification, this particular discussion. It is a fact that you really shouldn't be, as a Madhyamadikar, you shouldn't be talking to these people. You should just... But I guess he just wants to discourage him from coming ever again to see him. Because they're old friends. They grew up together. If he's nice to him, this guy's going to keep coming back. So it's sort of like a strategy. If he just starts talking about their old days, how they used to play, cricket and everything, and watch TV together, it's not going to work out too well. So he's thinking, in the beginning we read that he just thinking, I'm going to get rid of him as quickly as possible. So, okay, I think we have to end now. Thank you very much. All glory is to His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami.